Right, the crowd are on their feet now. This has to be one of the best performances we've seen of the year. Only in the dying minutes will we ever see anything as great as this ever again. Oh, and it's a goal!
Welcome to another episode of the podcast, and today I have a very special guest from New York State called David Mires. And welcome, David. What time is it over there in the States at the moment?
It is 4:45 p.m. and first of all, thanks for having me.
No, you're most welcome. And I'm just doing this series of official AFC Bournemouth supporters groups, and I've done one in Vietnam and one in Argentina. That was in Spanish. And I thought I'd round off. I try to get these done before the start of the season, but what better than to have a bit of a banter about the team's first game at Anfield. But we'll get to that in a minute. Thanks for being on, David. And you're in a very special location at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm right here in the bowels of Newburgh Brewing Company as we speak. So this is the home of our New York Supporters Club. Sorry, it's not an exotic of a location as Vietnam or South America, but we're doing the best we can here in New York.
And to see what he's talking about, this is a little montage I've done. This is the do you pronounce it Newburgh?
Yep, just like that.
Newburgh. There you go, spot on. And that is, just tell us whereabouts in New York, for those that can't really see the map.
We are about an hour's drive north of New York City, right along the Hudson River, as you can kind of see on the map there that you have laid out if you're looking closely. So right at the foothills of the mountains there in what's called the Hudson Valley. We also, as a weird relationship, are about 15 to 20 minutes north of West Point, which is the United States Military Academy and also the alma mater of Bill Foley. So a lot of weird connections, both in terms of location as well as just what we're doing here with Bournemouth.
Cool. And how big's the brewery? What's the official capacity?
In terms of people, we can fit about 275. We're about 10,000 square feet, and that is, as you can see in the picture, among 4 floors. The 4th floor is where our tap room is. It's modeled after a German-style beer hall. The 3rd floor is our offices, as well as the old apartment, which is now a podcast studio that I'm speaking in right now. And the first 2 floors are actually the brew house that you see in the one of the photos that you have going on the montage there. And due to the height of some of our barrel system, we actually had to cut out the floor of part of the 2nd floor and make a catwalk system. And we actually repurposed that flooring for our tables and benches up in the tap room. So we tried to, keep as much of the integrity of the building as we could intact. And where we couldn't, we reused it elsewhere.
Awesome. And what came first? Was it the supporters group or the brewery?
The brewery definitely came first. We opened up in April of 2012. And then as far as the supporters group, I believe it was August of 2023. We officially started up, and we've been kind of slowly and happily growing ever since then.
Cool. And you've got some particular stories about the brewery. You seem to be quite attached.
Yeah.
Tell me more about it.
Absolutely. So I live about 10 minutes from here. And my wife, my then girlfriend, and I, have always been, beer people, and, we'll travel around. We are pretty uniquely located in the Hudson Valley and then greater northeast of the U.S. in terms of a lot of, farms and cider mills and craft breweries. So it is a fun travel to kind of, go out, see a city, taste the local beverages that they make there. So that's always kind of been in our DNA anyway. And then the brewery opened up. We were customers from day one. We actually did a fundraiser here within the first couple of months that they were open, and got a lot of people that would not be normally seen in a brewery in the city of Newburgh to come out and really embrace the building and everything that's going on here. And then I got engaged here. I got married here. I've been working here for now 10 years. So I joke with our ownership that they really, even if they wanted to, they can't get rid of me anymore. I'm part of the furniture at this point.
That's it. I was saying, any other plans, any life moments for the brewery? Maybe have your first kids here.
Well, it's funny. We actually, I do have two daughters of my own. They're now 9 and 4, and they come, often for our soccer events and other. We try to be very family friendly here in the brewery. So, we'll have children's artists and children's authors come in. We do have a lot of people do like first birthday parties and things like that. So it surprises me to see how family friendly we are. But it's a great time, especially with soccer and the camaraderie that we have there with, adults and kids and, everywhere in between.
Awesome. So we're talking about breweries. So I noticed that there's some special beers that you've been brewing, like a milk stout, and I think it was in relation to the Cherries, the AFC Bournemouth range of beers. So would you like to just go through what types of beers did you actually brew for?
Absolutely, we've done 4 beers so far in our what we're calling our Up the Cherries series. Each of them are various beer styles that usually we are familiar with already, and then we'll add in some capacity a cherry flavoring, whether it's cherry juice, whether it's mashed cherries, either way. For those of you that don't know, obviously Bournemouth are the cherries, but cherries are also endemic to our area here in New York, so it's very easy for us to source local cherries to do that. The first beer we did was the aforementioned milk stout that we did for Boxing Day in 2023. The following spring, summer, we did a cream ale, which is a New York style that most other people around the world would know of as a pub ale. Then last winter, we did a cherry brown ale, and we just last month released our 4th in the series, and that is a tart cherry sour, which is very good, very refreshing on the hot summer day.
Awesome. Now, I keep noticing a little fella when it comes to the beers. I see this robot. So tell me, what's the story? Is this a mascot or is this?
Yeah, the robot is one of our mascots, and to be honest, it was just kind of like an accidental thing from one of our graphic designers, and it's now just become our official mascot. The giant robot that you see on the right there, that is Megabot, our the life, actually larger than life size mascot for us. We also have a bear as a mascot for some of our other beers, and you may have seen that on the cherry brown ale that we did. But Megabot is a very important part of what we do here at the brewery, and our customers and fans alike all love it. Similar to the way Cherry Bear gets the reaction from Bournemouth supporters.
Yes. So talking about Cherry Bear and Bournemouth, so how did you actually become a Bournemouth fan? What's your Cherries history?
So I grew up, I love the game. I grew up playing. I truth be told, grew up as an AC Milan fan. So, side note, the red and black stripes suit me quite well. But when, local player Tyler Adams wound up signing for Bournemouth was that July, August of 2023, we had already built up a relationship through the U.S. national team and just, local small coaching networks, to hopefully do something with him. We reached out to the club, and in the best way possible, Bournemouth is still run like a small community club. And within, I think, 2 days, we had a flag and a scarf here in the tap room ready to go. They fully embraced us from day one. And then, once we started pitching the idea of doing a cherry beer, they jumped at the opportunity to do that with us. So it's been a great experience, definitely for us. I think that Bournemouth, themselves feels the same way, in terms of reciprocal. But it has been an incredible ride. The people that we've met that have traveled far and wide just because we're a Bournemouth bar now. We had Fletch here over the summer. It's just every time we do something, I think this can't possibly get any better as a soccer person. And our Bournemouth keeps just one-upping us, both on the field and in the community every step of the way.
Wow. Yeah, you've mentioned quite a few names there. So I'm just going to add this first one, which is a group photo. I'm not sure if this is the same event with Cherry Bear. And
that looks like it was all an event we did. I'm trying to think of when that was. It was a match against Spurs. We had Premier League in the USA come and want to do a filmed event for us, to show off. Obviously, with Tyler being with Bournemouth also, there's that angle as well. And that was a brand new AFCB in USA account as well on social media. So we all kind of put our heads together collectively. We had those nice Newburgh Loves Bournemouth T-shirts made up.
Yeah.
And I mean, as you can see, we really packed the house. I think we had about 150, 200 people here, all for Cherry Bear and a Bournemouth match.
Yes, I'm just going to flick to another one. This is probably what you were talking about, the Sunday, 9th of March, but that would have been last year or the year before?
No, I'm pretty sure that was it. So I had thought maybe it was February, but that sounds about right. Yeah, because I see the AFCB and USA account on the bottom.
Yeah. Now, was there a special message? Was there an unexpected message for you at halftime or something?
Yeah, so apparently other people at the brewery knew this was going to be happening. We had hoped, when you put these plans together, you always kind of in the back of your head, you have your normal expectation and then your A goal of like, oh my God, if we can get all this together and we can get a player to say something, it would be just out of this world. And, so some of our brewery ownership group knew that this message was coming through. I did not. So I was so surprised. I wasn't even really paying attention that much because I was going in 17 other directions during the event, making sure everyone was having a good time in the tap room. But to hear Tyler, talking about, everything that, Bournemouth is doing and how proud he is of us here at Newburgh, putting, his face out there for the local fans. I mean, he really is a local legend here. And to get the kudos from Tyler himself, that we're doing that, it's, we obviously, you included, we all do this, for our support of the club and the camaraderie that comes along with being a soccer fan. But to get, that recognition from a current player really, does a lot for you and makes you want to keep going even further.
Yeah. So is he from the Hudson River area?
Yeah, he's from a town called Wappingers, which is about 25 minutes from here on the other side of the Hudson River. But, again, I've coached for a number of years and it is an increasingly small network. So, we know most of the same people and coaches and players. So, it's a lot of familiar faces and familiar voices.
Cool. And does he own a football team or a sports team locally?
Yeah, so he's part owner of two teams right now. He's a part owner of Hudson Valley Hammers, which plays their home matches about 10 blocks away from our tap room. We do a little bit of a mobile, bar over there for the games to sell canned beers. And his family runs that club. They are in, if I remember correctly, USL League 2, which, although there's no promotion and relegation in that league, it does fall to, I believe, the 4th division, or what we would recognize as the 4th division. And then he's also now a part owner of Westchester SC, which is USL League 1, which is a 3rd division club. And they have some pretty good aspirations of, stadium, commitments and improvements, and really looking to be a mover and shaker in the, I don't mean to say this disparagingly, but the quote unquote lower levels of American soccer. So a lot of things going on there and some very savvy stuff from Tyler and his family to, try to embrace more so the local professional game here.
So I think Westchester was only formed in 2024.
Yeah, it's a very, very new team. I believe this was their first full season.
and not doing too well. Because I did check the standings.
Yeah,
but hey, it's a learning curve.
Exactly, especially for a brand new club. And one of the interesting dynamics that I've noticed, even in the old days of MLS, at a professional level, when you have similar salaries across the board, just the living cost of being in or close to New York City can be a huge factor in terms of not being able to bring players in. The same, I'm just making up a number because I doubt a lot of these lower level guys are being paid that much, but the same $100,000 salary travels a lot further in a more rural area than it would living on the doorstep of New York City. So it's certainly a socioeconomic factor at play, but we go off on a tangent on that for hours if you'd like.
Yeah, no, I think it just depends on the individual circumstances, I suppose. With not everyone would want to be playing in Nebraska or Montana, for example. But then, yeah, it's great just to see his local involvement. It's not just doing what he does, but also branching out into the community, which is
for sure
just brilliant. It's absolutely fantastic. Okay, so tell me about the live game situation. So we've seen this picture here of games, but what time are the games normally on? A normal kickoff? What time is a late kickoff in England? I suppose would be different times. What's the live game situation?
So the Friday Monday games that are on kind of one off, those are 3 p.m. kickoffs here. The Saturday games, I believe, are 7:30, 10, and I want to say 12:30 is the quote unquote late game here. So just around lunchtime. And then Sunday, they let us sleep in a little bit. I think that's a 9 o'clock and an 11:30 a.m. kickoff.
Mm-hmm. And the attendances would vary, I suppose, depending.
Yeah. I mean, I won't gloss over it. There are some of those 7 a.m. kickoffs where it's me by myself with a cup of coffee, and that's fine. One of the interesting dynamics for us here on the Eastern Seaboard that can make it a little bit more difficult is most of our soccer fans either play themselves or have children that play. So Saturdays between 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. and Sundays the same time slots are mostly consumed with either the game itself or traveling to and from those games.
Yeah, it makes it hard, doesn't it? Yeah. Cool. No worries. And I noticed that on the Facebook group, sorry, my voice is going. I think I've seen some fantastic posters. So I've just selected a couple here for Bournemouth. So matchday posters, which are awesome. And do you design them or just?
I do actually design. So my wife is a photographer and graphic designer. But I don't want to, bog her down with her actual paying gigs to do some fun stuff for me. So I've kind of taken it upon myself. I had her teach me a couple things here and there, and then I kind of let my creativity run with. And so these were the ones I did for last season. I tried to model it as best I could after their home kit with the those thin gold stripes and. For their 125th anniversary, I wanted to make it look a little bit more antique-y. So I made it a little bit older looking, and would find photos mostly from the Bournemouth site on the post-match galleries and stuff like that. And I just kind of ran with it. And then this year, obviously there's only been one so far. But I was inspired a little bit more from a comic book perspective, and so I'm going to have each game be their own episode and comic book issue. So
that's not mine. I put this banner here. If you want to have a look at the comic books and things and all the fun stuff you guys do, check out this account. This is I think I'll get most of the stuff.
Yeah,
from,
I think that covered them all. Truth be told, we don't do much with Blue Sky, but I honestly I use it more as a way to collect news from other various places. not a big fan of the whole Twitter X thing. So, we kind of migrated to Blue Sky, and that's how I get a lot of my pundit news and things of that nature. So I don't do a lot of posting on there, but Instagram, we post all our watch parties, whether it's Bournemouth specific or some of our other, fans that have created their own supporters club. And that obviously goes to Facebook, and then YouTube is for our podcast. And, we have a great time doing all that.
Yeah, so we'll get on to the podcast and towards the end of the interview. I just wanted to show this picture of Cherry Bear. So this is one of the beers that you mentioned, was the Up the Cherries.
That's the brown ale, yeah.
Now I've got a very serious question for you. Did Cherry Bear have a taste?
Cherry Bear did not have a taste. He had a long flight back to England right after this, so he wanted to have all his faculties.
That's it. And then probably would have had the special passport. You didn't get a glimpse as to who Cherry Bear was, did you?
I cannot say one way or the other if I caught any glimpse of that.
Cannot confirm and I cannot deny. No, that's right. It shall be a mystery that shall remain. For those who do not know, it's all continue. No, but it was a really fun. It's really fun seeing Cherry Bear at these events. I mentioned to you quickly, I think it was a week and a half ago, whenever it was. I did a live catch up with who's no longer with the club, but Ned Radovich, and when he was in Las Vegas, and it was a West Ham Bournemouth game. For us, it was early morning. I don't know what time it would have been in Las Vegas, but I wasn't expecting Cherry Bear to be in the background and come and say hello. But we did this FaceTime, and I just couldn't believe it. I was like ecstatic, just to see the local mascot. But it's just something that was so unexpected. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what's he doing in America?
And it's incredible. Again, none of this is meant. Obviously, our fandom. None of this is meant to downplay, Bournemouth whatsoever. But to have the mascot of a quote unquote smaller club have such a following and such reverence toward him, it really is an incredible thing.
Yeah. I was showing people there, saying, look, and of course the West Ham fans, so what? It's a bear. But for the Bournemouth fans, it's like
nobody gets it.
Oh man, it was the funniest thing. I mean, it's just one of those in the moment things, which will remain with me for quite some time. So cool. All right. So apart from Cherry Bear, you had a very important visit from the boss, from Bill.
Yeah.
Was this unexpected, or obviously you got a bit of?
This one we knew about. The plight of a billionaire. All your travel has to be well planned and well thought out. So the way it worked, and I, forgive me, I don't know how many of your watchers are aware of American hockey and things like that. So Bill Foley owns the Vegas Golden Knights, also a professional hockey team in the NHL. And they happen to have had like a 2-game stretch in a week where they were in New York twice. And that was also combined somehow, coincidentally, with an alumni event at West Point. So Bill Foley was in town for, the week, let's say. And, so we were talking with Ned, and, honestly, Ned was a saint for all this. He got all the arrangements set up with Mr. Foley's assistant and with us, and we were able to make it happen. So Mr. Foley, a couple of his army buddies, and one of his children, wound up stopping here in the tap room. And, I was just blown away with how, how casual he was. Just very genuine. Not that I've met many billionaires, but it's very comforting to know that these are still just for the most part average, normal humans that we all do the same thing every day. So he was very genuine, very charismatic, and he's so savvy. Whether it's financially, whether it's hockey, whether it's the wine and hotels and hospitality that he takes care of, or AFC Bournemouth. He's just so aware of anything and everything that's going on. It really was comforting to see that.
And I think he's like one in a million owners, really, when you think about it. When you hear all the other bad news of other owners, they don't just have to be American; they can be anywhere from around the world, and they're obviously in it for a different reason.
Sure.
Obviously, everyone's in it because they do business, but especially the owners that just want to milk the club and run it dry, which I've seen many examples, especially in Spain. But obviously exists all over the world. So he's actually doing the opposite, putting money in, investing, building, thinking long term. It's just amazing seeing what he does.
Yeah, I do think he's done an incredible job of balancing both the short term and the long term goals of the club. Obviously, as a fan, you want to be in Champions League right away, but you don't want to mortgage your future to do something like that. So, for him to have the goal to put those goals in place and, confidently say that they're going to happen. And, so far, he's, hit every goal that he's looked for. So, and there were a lot of people, we haven't spoken about this, but maybe you included, with the sacking of Gary O'Neill and bringing in Andoni Iraola, a lot of people were turning their heads and wondering what was going on. So, I think so far these last few years have been proof positive that, he's a man that knows what he's doing. He puts the right people in place and they have a job to do.
Yeah, I follow Spanish soccer anyway, and I knew the kind of job that Andoni was doing at Rayo, and they basically had the big teams terrified at the style of play, and so hence I think it was Zoe from the club that mentioned the rock and roll football. I'm thinking, yeah, that's probably the best way to describe it. But more importantly, did he like the ale he was trying? Was that the brown ale? I guess
that was our cherry brown ale. So he is a self-professed wine person. I don't know. He owns I think a couple dozen wineries all over the world. But he did come back for a second beer. So
there you go. Good sign.
I'm taking that as maybe the biggest compliment you can get.
Plus, he took a 4-pack home with him. I can see in that.
Actually, we sent him home with a few cases, but that was for the photo op.
Oh dear, yeah, no, that's awesome. And any plans to do? Here's an idea for you: a canned sparkling wine that will sort of.
That's not a bad shout. So we don't do any of our own wines. We have done some collaborations with local wineries. The Hudson Valley, with the mountains and the climate that we have here, is very conducive to winemaking. So we are very good friends with a bunch of local wineries, and we carry their wines. But that's not a bad idea for a collaboration. For us to do. So I'm gonna take some notes here.
Write that down. And
fly it up.
Send me an invite to come over. Yeah,
you're you're always welcome.
Awesome. No, it's great. It's great to see the brewery do so many things, and we're going from this legend to another legend. You did briefly mention him at the start.
Yeah,
Mr. Steve Fletcher,
Fletcher.
700 plus appearances for AFC Bournemouth. So what is he doing here? Was this recently? This was this summer, wasn't it?
This was this was Thursday, July 24th, I believe the date was. So a couple days before so 7 p.m. I think they arrived via their ride share.
Exactly. Wow.
So this was a couple days before the game against Everton at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. So we kind of kicked off the summer series for AFC Bournemouth, and Fletch had an absolute whirlwind schedule for the week. They were carting him around all over the place, shaking hands, kissing babies, and it was incredible. I cannot say enough about Fletch. So engaging, so charismatic. And again, not to blow smoke up anyone, but I don't think Bournemouth could have found a better ambassador of the club than Steve Fletcher. I mean, he's lived the Bournemouth life now for, I think he was telling me, 30-something years between playing, coaching, and now his ambassador role. But he is, everyone wants to talk to him. He in our pre-meetings of, talking with Bournemouth and when we were getting Fletch here, we were asking, how will he do a Q&A? Would he do a meet and greet? We want to give the fans something to remember this by. And essentially everyone said, yeah, he'll do all that. It's, try getting him to stop talking. That's the problem.
Oh, really?
But he's so engaging, and so many people had great questions. It was incredible. Parts of it turned into a dialogue between he and a couple of the fans. It really was great, and everyone that came in the door got the gift of a lifetime by having that kind of access to Fletch. And I know I've said it before, but I can't say enough about the job that he did, all week, that whole week, the whirlwind tour that he had in, Atlanta, Chicago, and the greater New York, New Jersey area, in doing what he did for the club.
Did he crack any jokes or any interesting stories? He mentioned any insights or
yeah, it was funny. I think, again, and part of what I think makes him so good at what he does is he perfectly toes the line of, hey, this is me, former professional player, 700 something appearances, but not making it all about him. So he is very dynamic in that sense of being able to kind of flip to both sides. So we were joking about, Bournemouth and Southampton at one point. And, one thing I found interesting from his standpoint is he doesn't get that rivalry. It's foreign to him for the most part, and part of it, obviously, they're not always in the same division, and as now with Southampton's relegation, so it's very interesting to hear that from a player's perspective, because for the most part, fans are all about the big rivalries, whether it's here in New York with New York or New York City Football Club and Red Bull New York, or you have the Madrid derbies, you have all these famous derbies, you have the North London derby, you have all these things, and for him it's not about that. It was just getting on the field and playing the team across the pitch from you.
Yeah. I remember seeing when Bournemouth signed him on the back of the Daily Echo. I said, this young, I think he was 19 or he was so young. It was this 19-year-old from Hartlepool United, and we signed this new striker. I'm thinking, well, cool, we've got a new striker. I think we're in the third division.
Yeah.
And who would have guessed he would go on?
He's still there.
He's still there. You can't get rid of him. You can't shut him up. You can't get rid of him.
Him and Cherry there. They are the constants at AFC Bournemouth.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Let me see. All right, so I wanted to go on to, let's see what all right. Now, I noticed your podcast. You have a podcast called Club Deportivo Unión Newburgh.
Yeah,
but you pinched a bridge from Sydney.
No, that is, I could open a window and show you. That is the Newburgh Beacon Bridge.
Right.
That's
Okay.
incredible. That you'll have offline. You'll have to send me that, because the resemblance is uncanny.
I think it's cool. I saw it, and I saw because I saw the logo, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, and I went to check. I thought I put a cartoon version of Sydney Harbour Bridge, and I'm thinking, you guys are pinching? No, I'm just kidding. But I thought that's unbelievable. So there you go. So tell me about the podcast. What do you do? What sort of topics do you talk about? Or what do you talk about? Any particular teams? Just go for it.
Yeah, so the podcast is called A Soccer Fan Walks Into a Bar, and it essentially was the brainchild of me being upstairs in the tap room, talking soccer with people while games were on, and a couple of the other customers said, you guys talk about this all the time. Why don't you broadcast it? So that was it. So CDU Newburgh, or Club Deportivo Unión Newburgh. is kind of just everything that we have here. I've been extremely fortunate to have traveled most of North and South America for soccer. And, a lot of places you have kind of a communal, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's a club, whether it's a sporting club or just a social club that has sport. And we don't really have that so much here in the U.S. So I wanted to create, whether you play, just want to watch, and truth be told, whether it's Bournemouth or any other club, I always joke around. I don't care if it's the fifth division in Latvia. If I can get it on the TV and you want to watch it, we're going to make it happen. So that's where that all started. And then with the podcast, we take a general look, mostly Premier League. Obviously, we always kind of focus on Bournemouth as well within that. And then we have a whole segment we call 100 Miles to Home, which is most of our professional clubs right here in the New York, New Jersey area, whether it's, women's, whether it's the MLS, whether it's the lower level divisions. And then, we kind of just bounce off ideas with one another there. And, it's a fun hobby, of ours to just get out and talk soccer and, keep the community alive.
And the programs would vary between one might be a Premier League review, and then next program could be talking about the local soccer, or you mix it all in,
we
or
mix it up. So we just actually added a second show every week. So Monday afternoons we usually record, and that will have obviously now that the season, the summer was tough for us, so there wasn't a lot of soccer. I shouldn't say that, because we had Club World Cup and Gold Cup here in the U.S. and all that, but not a lot of European League soccer for us to talk about. So we were a little hamstrung there. But yeah, so Monday afternoons, we'll generally review the weekend, major scores, suspensions, injuries, any big news stories. And then we'll take a quick break. And the second segment is when we kind of talk about the American stuff. And then Saturday mornings, we just started last week, actually. And that'll kind of be a preview show of, the games that we'll have, in the tap room on the weekend, or any other cool stories. Depending on the timing, we try to get a fan of one of those early game teams to come in and sit with us, and we'll chat, and again, just 2 guys or 3 or 4 guys just chatting, at the bar, having a beer, talking the game, just very casual, and that's where we all started, and some of the best conversations I've ever had is exactly that. So we want to kind of keep that going, maybe in a slightly more formal setting now on a podcast, but that's what we're about here. Just good vibes and a couple good beers from Newburgh.
That sounds like absolute haven or heaven, for any soccer fan and a football fan to come to a place like the one you've got, and to be able to just do that and find like-minded soccer players, soccer fanatics or fans and stuff. I noticed you mentioned that you were dealing with some of the USA fans. Is that the American Outlaws, or is that?
So American Outlaws is the U.S. Soccer Federation national supporters group. I've had some conversations with them. None of it has really been formalized. In my opinion, it's very difficult to have one supporters group with the size of the U.S. You can even see it with, obviously the guys have done an incredible job with it, but the NACHOS group for Bournemouth, it's not easy to have an entire continent represented with one group. Yep. So it becomes very difficult to get things organized and make sure everyone is, getting what they want and how they want it, and putting out a good product for everyone in terms of watch parties, in terms of, benefits. So, we always will host the U.S. national team games, whether it's men, women. We actually have a local player who features for the U.S. deaf national team as well. So we've had some conversations with them about, doing some more stuff. If they ever stream those matches, we'd love to, help engage the community in that. But, one of the cool things about there having been no soccer supporters groups here in the past is that we have been able to build that foundation. And whether you're a fan of Bournemouth or not, it's been incredible. People are just so happy to have a home to watch those games. You know, they honestly, they don't care. There's very little rivalry here. We've hosted North London derbies where, you know, Arsenal and Tottenham fans are you know, having beers together and, you know, some friendly banter here and there. But, you know, it's again, what's the alternative? You're watching the game at home by yourself, screaming at a television. So, you know, it's been very good for our community to have those opportunities to meet fans of different clubs. And, you know, and because of that, we've been able to grow to, I believe we now have 4 supporters clubs for various clubs. We just added Borussia Dortmund actually this week. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So you got, is it Brighton's one of them? Brighton, Borussia?
Brighton, Borussia Dortmund, obviously Bournemouth, and Barcelona.
Oh, there you go. Well,
So.
yeah, it's a nice mix, European.
Yeah, and oddly enough, you know, there's been a lot of crossover. You know, oh, you know what? I'm part of the Brighton group, but my wife loves Barcelona, and it like again, the community here is really fostering exactly that. Is just good people getting together for good games.
Nice. I was going to ask. So we had the first game for AFC Bournemouth last weekend. And what were your impressions?
They changed as the day went on, I think. You know, if you told me that at one point after losing Dean Howson, after losing Milos Kerkez, after losing Kepa, after losing Zabarny, that we would be 2-2 level with the defending champions Liverpool, I would have, you know, taken that in a heartbeat. You know, on top of being defending champions, you know, obviously, I think both parties handled it extremely well, but all the added emotion of Diogo Jota and you know, everything that came along with that, you know, to go down 2-0 and then have those 2 goals from Semenyo to come back and draw things level into, what was it, the 86th, 87th minute, I think. You know, I was thrilled. I you know, ever the pessimist, I thought we were going to be in for a tough match, you know, multiple goals, which happened, but I was very surprised in a good way to see us get on the score sheet and you know, make a fight of it for sure.
Yeah. Semenyo scored there before at Anfield, so yeah, I'd like to see him continue the habit. But whenever a soccer fan talks to me about Semenyo, I say, hey, you're not signing him. after about 3 or 4 departures from, you know, major departures from the club, you're thinking,
yeah, I think it's going to be tough sledding these first few months, akin to, you know, Iraola's first year where we had that, you know, 8-9 game streak of no wins because, you know, it's not the easiest system to acclimate to, and when you lose 4 of your, you know, back line and goalkeeper all in the same offseason, to kind of vet and get all these guys cohesive again, you know, it's going to take time. And my hope is that we can just hopefully tread water for a little bit and not lose too much ground until we get hot. But, you know, the proof will be in the pudding, as they say.
That's it, and pick up some points along the way. But yeah, we need a bit of luck as well because, you know, sometimes we've been on the receiving end of VAR, especially, and other decisions, especially with the red card for Evan Nelson that then got rescinded and things like that, you know, which affect the season.
The other one was it Zabarny too, with a similar?
That's right. Yeah.
And then actually it was like the first couple of weeks of last season with Dango. I think he had 2 goals on VAR. Yeah. So yeah, VAR has not been our friend. You know, I try to be objective and say it all even out as the season goes, but nobody wants to hear that when you're the team that's been aggrieved.
Affected. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So what do you think of the replacements that Bournemouth have brought in? You know,
I think we'll be okay in the long run. I think Truffert is going to be lights out. In my opinion, I was never... He did extremely well for Bournemouth, but I was never a big Kerkez fan. I know most people, you know, look at me cross-eyed when I say that. But I honestly, I don't think... I think he can be replaced quite easily. I'm worried about losing both Housen and Zabarny so quickly. A lot of us had forgotten about Sinisi because he got hurt and wasn't able to get back into the squad because of how well they were playing. But to lose both of them, I do think will be difficult. At the same time, though, so far the transfer model that Foley and his staff have come up with has been lights out. So until I'm proven wrong, I'm going to kind of blindly follow what they're all doing and the way that Iraola can get them all together and make the sum greater than the whole of its parts with that back line.
Yeah. And you're talking about the model that I guess includes the Auckland FC team, which has been fantastic just this last season, the first ever season in the A-League, and they won the Premiership. So the Premiership is the final standings after the regular
and they
season.
Lost in a semi-final, I believe, right?
They lost in a semi-final against Melbourne Victory, which in the first leg they won 1-0, and I think it was Moreno who shot a goal. Shot a ball on one post, and it went to the other post, and then instead of going in, it went out, and that would have been 2-0. And then the whole what ifs, what if that had gone in and stuff. And we're lucky in Sydney because I'm in touch with a guy, Robbie Feldman, who works for the broadcaster, the Channel 10 Paramount broadcaster, who has the rights to the A-League, and we do talk from time to time about Auckland, and then I log into another podcast called A Nice Drop Report, which is the New Zealand Auckland FC unofficial podcast, but they do all sorts of interviews with Steve Corica and other players, so I like to stay only because it's Bill Foley's team, and so I blindly follow Auckland FC, as you can tell.
You're part of the scouting team at this point now, because you know all these guys. You have to, whether it's them, whether it's Lorient, whether it's Hibs, and they just bought a Portuguese club as well, right?
Moriense, or is it different?
I don't recall, but I do remember them just purchasing into a team in the Portuguese league as well. So
and it's always the same. It's always the same ambition, the same goal is to build that club up. It's always never to take from, build up. It just happened that Lorient had some great players and stuff, and
listen, as a NYCFC supporter and season ticket holder, we are part of City Football Group. So it's there's always I see the Lorient or Auckland City kind of feeling of like, okay, we're almost afraid to get very good players because we know the trajectory of where it's going to be, but
they'll end up signing for another club anyway. So exactly. That's the thing.
As the business of football goes, if you're not Real Madrid, then or Barcelona or PSG or a Liverpool, you're gonna lose those players.
Yeah, that's the nature of the modern game, isn't it? But no, I like what he's doing. I think there's a Croatian club as well where he's looking into Split, I think it was, or I'm not sure, but I'll have to Rijeka. I think it's Rijeka, in Croatia. And Croatia, I mean, the old Yugoslavia they were termed the Brazil of Europe. So
I remember taking some coaching courses with Dinamo Zagreb coaching staff, and rightfully so. They were deemed the Brazilians of Europe, and it shows. You had Modric and Rakitic and Perisic and all these guys that were just incredible players from such a small community, and can they replicate that on a bigger scale in Bournemouth or in New York or in Sydney or
Yeah, no, it's a great adventure that Bournemouth is going under Bill Foley, and I just can't wait to see how the players going to mingle. Hopefully also that I was a bit upset when Lorient went down to League Two, but hey, they bounced back up, and there's a new threat on the horizon in France. Paris FC. They say that's going to be the next PSG. So we'll see about that.
I think their stadiums are like almost up adjacent
right next
to one another, right? Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. I just wanted to go back to the thing you were mentioning about the USL 1 and 2, which are the equivalent of the third and fourth division, and then we've got the MLS, the Major League Soccer. So, what is the second division? Is that because I know there used to be a PDL, the Development League.
Yeah,
but
PDL was. I think it kind of got absorbed. It's become a lot of like alphabet soup as well. There was the A League, there was PDL, there was the USISL, there was countless other. You had the NPSL. You had a lot of amateur leagues trying to piece together. Part of the problem is just the sheer geography that we have here in the U.S.
Exactly.
You have some leagues that can't play in the winter at all. You have some leagues that can't play in the summer at all because of the weather. So you had all that, but the above USL League One is called the USL Championship, and that acts as the de facto second division. And there are rumors abound of MLS adopting in some capacity some sort of promotion relegation system. It remains to be seen how that would work out, whether it's parachute payments, whether it's MLS growing to a point where they have maybe 40 teams and just within that it's two divisions of 20 each. Whether it's East and West and some sort of playoff tournament at the end. If they can find the money to make it happen, I think they'll make it happen. It's the more I get into this on a business side of things within the game, just follow the money and you'll have your answer.
Yeah, because the franchise is quite expensive. That's probably why Bill invested in Bournemouth instead of the
so there were interviews in the past about Bill being interested in the MLS, and he bought a Premier League club for less than an MLS team.
I think a fraction, actually, because I think the franchise was some ridiculous. I couldn't believe it. 2 billion? No way.
I think that's some of the values now. For an expansion team, I want to say the expansion fee is like 500 or 600 million, and that's before you have a stadium. That's before you have a single player or staff member. So it could
amount to that. It could amount to 2
billion. Absolutely.
By the time wow.
I do think though, if MLS ever were to get into the Vegas market, I think Foley would probably be their first phone call. In my opinion, they'd be foolish not to at least try that avenue. He's a proven great owner. He's got huge roots in the city of Vegas, both in terms of contacts and personnel, but also, if there's someone that can get a stadium built there, it's going to be him.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, I've run out of questions, but it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, David. It's fun seeing the news from Newburgh and what poster they got now, and I do recommend for people to go and check out the especially the Facebook, that you can see the new comic style poster. I decided not to put it up here so they can direct people to.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I have a couple questions for you, Nick. What do you see this season from Bournemouth? Where do you see us landing when all is said?
I think we can improve, actually. I think like you said, if our defenders can get with the system, then I see that Bournemouth can probably try and aim for top half again. I think not getting into Europe last season was a blessing in disguise because of the extra stretch it would be for the.
No,
for the
I
team.
agree 100% on that.
If I was Iraola and I would have gotten into Europe, then I would have put maybe half the reserve team for experience in Europe, especially the qualifying games or whatever, that phase, that 2 or 3 matches before you actually qualify for the actual proper Conference League or UEFA Europa League. That would have been maybe a fix-it moment, but yeah. So I think it was important to focus on the team and have players in Bournemouth that really want to be at Bournemouth and will stay at the club no matter what. I mean, I guess these days it's really kind of hard to find those kind of career club career players, but I think I think we should do well just gathering from one game, the Liverpool. I think we'll be okay. We'll be okay.
I do. I was, like I said, I was very pleasantly surprised with the result. Obviously, again, when you're 2-2 level with only a few minutes left, you want to steal that point at Anfield. But, realistically, I totally understand, the things that happen. As an Italian American, I was thrilled to see Chiesa score that goal and get that off his chest. He's had a tough ride these last few years with injuries and playing time. So it was good to see on that front. And I'm a little bit more pessimistic than you are. I think we'll struggle to get into the top half. I see us in that like 11th to 13th position, but I'm love to be wrong.
Yeah. No, I think for some of the players it might be quite a hard system, but if they now Irola's been now there for about two seasons, and if players sign for Bournemouth, I think they know what they're going to get. They know the style that's expected of them. So even if the coaching staff wouldn't approach a player if they didn't think that player could adapt to the system. So, and that's what excites me about the Foley, the Black Knight football group model, is that ideally and hopefully we should be getting all those teams playing into a similar style that Irola's developing, so that then we can have interchangeability of players and be able to fit them into different teams as needed. So I was definitely expecting Poulsen to go from Auckland to Hibernian or on some kind of loan, but he stayed at the club. So there you go.
Yeah. And I honestly, Petrovic has been so far so good. He played briefly in the MLS as well, so I got a few chances to see him here stateside. But I think I saw Trufair had the most distance covered via sprinting in the entire league last week. So, to your point, the newer players are already kind of getting the system. And hopefully, one, they stay healthy, and two, they keep improving along together, and nobody gets their head turned by transfer rumors in the winter window, and we keep trucking along.
Yeah, no, I was talking to an Arsenal fan at work yesterday, and a few other people. I think they should introduce some kind of law that agents can't influence a player unless there's 1 year left on his contract.
Yeah.
And that way there's a bit more stability. Obviously, it's not good for the agent, but at least that way the players can focus on playing their football. Anyway, that's just an idea.
Yeah.
I'm putting it out there, but yeah.
I like that. I also, we have a couple, a lot of the leagues in the US allow it, but I'm not a fan of transfers after the season has started. I know not every league has the same, opening weekend kickoff, but everything with Isak right now and Liverpool playing against Newcastle coming up, it's just, it creates a bad situation for all parties, honestly. I mean, you see, nobody's a winner in that situation, whether it's Eddie Howe in Newcastle, whether it's Liverpool, whether it's Isak himself, whether it's his agent. It creates a lot of unnecessary, feelings.
Angst.
It doesn't need to be there.
Yeah, and the rest of the team as well. So you can imagine what the rest of the team is thinking. So they're distracted. So you want your players to be focused and get on to the next game. And if this is lingering, then it's not good for anyone, like you said.
Agreed.
So, cool. All right. If you have any other questions for me, great.
No. I think this was lovely. Thanks for having me on. And actually, you know what? Any plans to get to the US for the World Cup next year at all?
I'd love to. I to be honest, I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But it would be great to see this expanded World Cup and more exciting teams take part. But I say never, and always keep your mind open and options open. So who knows?
My wife is fully on board with us going into at least some amount of debt to get to the World Cup final. It's right in our backyard. I don't have to fly to Qatar or Russia or, Saudi Arabia or any of these other countries that are hosting the World Cup. I don't need a hotel. So, an expensive ticket might be the cheaper option as opposed to flying and staying and all those meals out. So we're going to try to make it happen.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching whether it be on TV or in person, one of the semi-finals in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta.
Yep.
Because I follow Atlanta United. I used to live and work in Atlanta, so yeah, that's become my obvious team. And obviously, when they chose the red and black for Atlanta kit, I thought there's no option not to follow.
Again, just like me with Milan and Bournemouth, the red and black stripes they suit me well. And as a NYCFC supporter, Andoni Iraola used to play for them before he got into management. So too many connections to not make this work.
That's it. All right, David, thank you so much for being on the show. And it's been a real pleasure. And for those, check out the Club Deportivo Union Newburgh, and the soccer fan walks into a pub.
Your Spanish accents are on point there.
Yes, thank you. I lived there for 8 years, so it's all well honed. So
my Spanish is mostly taught to me by Chileans, and they even self-admittedly speak some of the worst Spanish you can imagine. So they.
Oh no, you'll get done for that later. Yeah.
Even
Awesome.
my Chilean friends tell me the same thing. So it's
okay. You're okay then. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being on, and it's look forward to seeing more posters and seeing how the team progresses this season.
As am I. Cheers.
Take care. Bye.